ladies. So here is your first card for the December monthly stamping club cards. I received this one in a swap that I did recently. Her name was Maureen Rochfuss. It's one of those random swaps. And I thought you might enjoy seeing how to make this. So the background is made using the Brusho crystal colors. This is Brusho. And I know I haven't used them a lot, but I've used them a couple of times. So this is the card. So there's a couple of things you have to do when you're using Brusho, because you're going to get the paper really wet, so you have to use a paper that's going to stand up to it, up to water. So regular cardstock works, but it doesn't work as well as others. So today we're going to be using the shimmery white cardstock, and the watercolor paper works really well too. And all I'm doing is I'm taping it down to a piece of cardboard so it doesn't do this. I'm just using some masking tape, and I've made the piece bigger than it needs to be, because you're going to end up with a frame around it. See, this one I did earlier, and you get that frame around it from taping it down, so you have to have a piece big enough that you can cut that off after it dries. So I'll show you how to do that too. Okay, so I've taped this down to a piece of cardboard with masking tape, and then you can do it two ways. You can do it three ways. So the first way is you wet, just trying to find what I did with my other one. Oh well. You wet the paper first, and then you sprinkle the Brusho crystals on. So the crystals come in a pack like this, and there's 5 of them. We're going to be using yellow and Prussian blue today, but there's also brilliant red, gamboge, and mossy green. So you get 5 in the package. So you can wet the cardstock first and then tap the color on it, and then it kind of spreads. So this is the what color was this? The mossy green. That's mossy green. It's got purples and stuff in it. So this is what happens when you do that. Your inks flow, and it's a different look than this one. So for this one, I sprinkled the color on first, and then I spritzed with water. And I spritzed from way up high, so probably a foot away, and just let the spritzes just fall onto the paper so that it it wets the Brusho crystals but doesn't move it much. This one I spritzed a little bit closer to it so it moves the color around. And then this one, this is one of the ones where I did the color first, or the water first, and then put the color on. So you can see there's quite a difference in the looks. And then I have one drying here that I sprinkled the color on, and then I spritzed it from way up high to get it like this on the bottom. And then I took my spritzer and I kind of spritzed in that kind of a motion to move some of the color up. So I can actually do a little bit of that. I just want to protect my stuff that I've got hanging around here, because I don't want things to get wet. So I'm using one of the Stampin' Up! Spritzers, and the reason I use those is because they have a nice fine mist on them. They're not like the cheap spritzers that gob out. So here it is, it's done, and this has dried. So I'm just going to take my spritzer and I'm going to spritz in a direction. Make sure you know where the water's coming out. Yeah, I got it in the face a couple of times. So you're just kind of moving the crystal around with the water. You see how it's pushing it that way? And then you can leave that to dry like that if you want. And it will kind of move and flow and take a long time to dry. You can also use your heat gun and dry it. I just prefer to do this. I know, I'm impatient. And all I'm doing is just picking up the excess water, so that will now dry. So I'm going to put that one over here to let that dry. And here's the one I haven't done yet. So I'm just getting all the stuff out of the way. So when you get these Brusho crystals, you have to pop a couple of holes in them because that you can't open them, because then you'd really have a mess. These are really fine, 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 fine crystals. Let me get a piece of paper and I'm just going to tap a couple of crystals on there and see if I can get it up into focus. Let me go onto my computer because I will see if I can find it. Make sure that I'm first of all in the right direction. There, okay. So I'm gonna try to, can you see how fine those crystals are? So don't open it. It's got an opener, but don't open it. Just poke a couple of holes. Oops, I've got two of them stuck together here. With like a push pin or something, just a couple of holes in there. And the reason you do two is because when you're tapping it out, it allows air to go in. So there we are. Everything we want to know about Brusho. I'm going to move my light a little bit closer here so that you can see this a little bit better. Okay, so I'm just going to, I have two holes in there and I'm going to tip it up and just tap it like this, where you want the crystals. And it's up to you how much you put on there. You can put a little, you can put a lot, and you can add more after you get it done. If you decide, hey, I don't like that, there's not enough color in there, you can add more. And after it dries, before you do any stamping, you can add more too. And you can add more water and you could move it around. It's really kind of forgiving. And I prefer, see, I'm getting a little bit dark with the blue there. I prefer the crystals and then the water method because I don't like that. I prefer not to have this thing for the card that I'm doing now. If you were doing a water card, that would be really cool. Okay, so now I've got my spritzer and I'm going to go up. You're not going to be able to see, I don't think, because I'm going to be so high up because I don't want to put there. And see, I'm just wetting the crystal. And the more you put on, the more the crystals flow and move. And then I'm going to take the paper towel that I used on the previous one. And you don't want to use the, like, I don't want to put this over top. I used the unside just because I don't want to add more color. I'm a minimalist when it comes to this stuff. I'm just going to add a little bit more water on there. And I'm just going to... I'm too impatient not to do that part. So now I'm going to just put it to the side and let it dry. But before I do that, I am going to take my paper towel and wipe off the excess off of the masking tape, because I've found that you can transfer it onto your next project because I use the same tape more than once. So there we go. That's how to use Brusho crystals. And you don't have to just use two. This one, where did it go? Oh, this one. This one I just have one. You can add a red. You could add all sorts of stuff. But because I'm using the shimmery white cardstock, it's got a shimmer to it too. It's really quite gorgeous. This one that I got also is the shimmery white cardstock. Okay, so we'll get rid of that one. And we'll take this one. Well, I've done that one, so let's do this one. This is when I put the water on first, and then I put the crystals on afterwards. So I'm just going to now cut it down to 3.5 by 4 3/4. Okay, so it's probably going to be out of camera, and I'm sorry if I'm giving you upset tummy from moving. So 3.5 by 4 3/4. I don't want to cut too much of the yellow off. I want to leave most of the yellow on there. So I've got it cut down now to 3.5 by 4 3/4. And this just throw away. So now we're going to stamp the card. This is a gorgeous sympathy card, and that's what we're going to make today. So we're using the Dandelion Wishes stamp set, this one, and they use this sentiment here, but I'm going to use a sentiment from, I don't know what stamp set. Hang on, I'll go find out. It's from a stamp set called Better Together. So it's a a double stamp set. So it's got wedding and all sorts of stuff in it. And there's the one, Merry Christmas. I've used that quite a bit too. And this birthday, I love that birthday. Okay. So let's put, oops, now I got blue everywhere. There's the card. So it's got both of the stamps in there, and I do this one first because then I can make this one kind of go up and around where I want it. And I'm using Memento. If you use StazOn, you could play with the color after you've stamped it as well. But I don't want to use StazOn. I want to use Memento because I find my StazOn is not juicy enough. And it's not dark enough. And I want this to be a little bit darker. So there's that one. And now I'm going to ink up this one. And then I'm going to put it so that these flowy things are kind of going up over top, like that one is. I had to order myself a new Memento ink pad. It's so cool. I haven't had one for probably 8 years. But I don't... Oh... because I didn't have enough Memento ink pads, that's why I had to order it. Okay, so now I can turn this one and have it kind of going up and over the one I already stamped there. There we are. Now the sentiment, it's a nice thick sentiment. I mucked it. I don't want to muck it. Okay, let's ink it up properly this time. So it's a nice thick sentiment, so it's going to show up really well on this paper. And I'm going to put it right there. There we are. It's all the stamping done. So now I have the pieces. I'm going to layer this onto a piece of Daffodil Delight so that it brings out the yellow in the bottom. And because this paper is a little warped from being wet. I'm going to make sure I've got it going all the way around. And then I'm going to put a couple in the center too so that it stops it from bubbling up when you get it onto the Daffodil Delight. I love doing swaps because you get some really good ideas from them. And I'm doing one with a bunch of Canadian demonstrators for the Occasions catalog. So I'll have some of that stuff to show you too. Now, she's popped this up on dimensionals. So I'm just going to grab some here because there isn't any ribbon or anything on this one. And I'm going to put them quite close together because I don't want them, I don't want the cardstock to drop, I guess. Sag. That's a better word. Sag in the middle. I don't usually use this many dimensionals, but they've been on sale lately, so we can afford to do it. Today, when I'm doing this, today's the last day of the extravaganza, online extravaganza sale. I hope you guys have been enjoying seeing all the stuff out there. There's lots of people have been sharing it. And it's also the 28th. So there's only 2 more days left to order the Snowflake Showcase products. The white velvet paper is no longer available. It's sold out before I left for Orlando. I think I might have one package left. Maybe I'll have to include that in the draw I'm having on the 17th of December. Okay, so there we are. Now this goes flat onto the card base. Alright, let's find the card base. Hello, where are you? There we are. Right side up. It would be sad if I made an upside down sympathy card. I hate making sympathy cards, but there is a need for them, and I will be doing a sympathy class in January. Okay, so there we are. So the inside has, this is another stamp that's in the set, and there's the envelope. I'm just going to get the envelope and make sure this is the right inside. Yep. Okay. Stamp set. Stamps. And I'm just going to put a, oops, there's mung on there. Somebody said to me the other day, I've never heard of that word mung. Am I the only one that uses that? I've been using it for years. Okay, and on the envelope, and let's tape that on the inside. And you could go around this with some color or sponging or something, but I don't want to. I just want to leave that plain because it is a sympathy card. So the very last thing now is to put some rhinestones. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 rhinestones, and I'm going to color them with the black Sharpie. And Oh, let's see. I'll do one big one. And a medium one. And 2 small ones. And all you do is just go over top. Now we do have a black blends that I could have done this with, but I like to limit using blends on these things because you kind of destroy the tips. So when it's black, I'll use black. And we'll put that one there. I'll just use a black Sharpie because they're cheap. There we are. So there's the sympathy card. Card number 1 for the December Stamping Club. Now, I kind of want to do an experiment. Take that one out, and I'm going to put this one in. This is the one I did with the, was it moss green? And I'm just going to tape it down. I want to see what's gonna, I'm probably going to completely ruin this thing, but that's okay. I want to see what happens if I put some, what should we use on there? Gamboge, maybe? Sure. Let's stick some gamboge on there. Now this one I did about a month ago. I just want to see what's going to happen if I put some more on and then stick some more water on there. Oh, look at that. Isn't that cool? So now I'll just let that dry, and then I'll have this cool thing with some gamboge on it. Of course, I can't use this one because you definitely get a line. There you go. So, I'm glad you could join me to play with Brusho crystals. They're in the catalog. And let me see. Let me see if I can find them for you. Because they're easy to miss. But in the back, we have our accessory index. And let's look up for Brusho Crystal Colors on page 202. 201, 202. So in the coloring tools right up there, that's the Brusho. $41, you get 5 of them. And I don't think you would ever have to buy those ones again. I have a sister-in-law who's an artist, a true artist, and she uses Brusho. She loves it. And she has a hard time getting it in Canada. It comes from Britain, I believe. And the price that we're paying per container is less than the price that she can get them for. So they are a pretty good deal. Anyways, there's the card. I'm glad you could join me. We'll see you again next time. Bye for now.